Storm watch is in effect for the Outer Banks.
The preparations for deadly rip currents and massive waves.
The amount of waters coming could be unprecedented.
Be overly prepared. You cannot be prepared enough.
We'll also examine wildfire season and how climate change is making it last longer than ever.
It's impacting our air quality a lot more than it used to.
Plus, the dramatic rescue of 4 girls stranded on a lake and why the number of Lyme disease cases is growing.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. Hurricane Erin weakened a bit this morning. It's now a Cat 2 storm, and while it's still not expected to make landfall, it is bringing danger to the East Coast. Erin is now spinning near the Bahamas, where it made that much anticipated turn to the north. It's expected to pass just a couple of hundred miles from North Carolina's Outer Banks. That's why tropical storm watches are now posted there. Yesterday, many people living and vacationing on the barrier islands heeded warnings, and they also evacuated. Many beaches, like here in Ocean City, Maryland, are seeing rough surf already, and the situation will only get worse. Beaches from Florida to Maine are expecting deadly rip currents and waves. It could be as high as 20 feet. We have extensive coverage of Erin this morning, starting with Florida meteorologist Lauren Oleski.
So here is a look across the Atlantic Basin. Hurricane Erin, we'll look at it in just a second. Then we've got 2 other waves coming off the coast of Africa, essentially just following in Erin's wake. 10 to 60% development chance for this wave here. Could become a depression by the end of the week, and then another one moving off the coast of Africa. This one is nearly following the same path as Erin, so it might not actually get as strong because the water that Erin has now moved over is a lot colder because it already kind of pulled up all the much warmer air. We'll monitor it. It is something we do need to watch because the ridge of high pressure is a little bit stronger over the next few days. We'll see what happens there. Still too early to tell any direct impacts if it were to make it to the United States, but it is something we need to keep a close eye on, and of course we'll be monitoring it for you. Here's the latest on Erin. Again, winds are at 115 miles per hour. Like we mentioned, again, the track itself, the center of the storm, stays well off the coast, but because the wind field is expanding, there are tropical storm watches in effect for the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And then again, really rough surf, dangerous rip currents up and down the eastern United States.
And we are closely watching beach conditions along the coast. This is what Morehead City, North Carolina looked like this morning. It's on the southern end of the Outer Banks. You could see some of the worst conditions right there. We have team coverage today from New Jersey, South Carolina, Florida, and of course, North Carolina. We start with Chris Young, who is in Dare County on the Outer Banks.
With up to 20-foot waves expected along the Outer Banks, officials in Dare County and Hyde County have issued mandatory evacuations for Hatteras and Ocracoke Islands on the Outer Banks. Visitors were told to evacuate Monday, with residents evacuating Tuesday.
The amount of waters coming could be unprecedented.
With waves expected to double and even triple in size, the biggest challenges will be extreme beach erosion, dune overwash, and coastal flooding. Mac Dahlquist lives in Dare County part-time for work, but he says this isn't the first time he's been through a storm like this.
I've been through a couple hurricanes down here. It's never really a scary process. It's kind of just taking steps daily, go through the main procedures that we have to go through and just make it today.
Dare County Emergency Management Director Drew Pearson says many of the roads are at risk of being washed out, including Highway 12, which is the only way off the islands by car. Because of this, he says evacuating is crucial, as emergency services may not be available once Hurricane Erin gets closer.
We need to get people someplace where they're going to be safe. Those that decide not to evacuate, they're on their own. They may be at risk. We may not be able to get the ambulance to them.
Beach hazards are going to be a problem the entire week.
Hazards including high surf and rip currents, coastal flooding, and beach erosion. And with this strong of a storm, the ocean can be a dangerous place, even over 500 miles away.
When we talk about these bigger waves, it makes disorientation really easy. Swimming gets exponentially harder. And then as rip currents form along the coast, they become that much stronger because that wave energy is that much larger with this system,
making it life-threatening for even advanced swimmers. Even experienced surfers say it's a risk, one you wouldn't want to take.
Erin is coming in as a hurricane, and it's bringing in a tropical swell, which is good for experienced surfers, but if you're not experienced, then it's a little dangerous, because once you get up to like 5 to 8 and even 8 to 12, it is more likely than not that you could possibly drown if you're not too experienced.
Waves look calm Monday at Stewart Beach, but they could double or triple in size by Wednesday morning. Mark Perry from the Florida Oceanographic Society warns conditions can change quickly.
So it looks like nice beach now, but all of this sand moves away. And what happens is, especially as the waves are hitting at an angle to the beach from the northeast in this case, it'll pick up that sand and move it down the beach.
Large waves and rip currents could make swimming dangerous. This week, if you see a red flag, that means rip currents are strong or surf is high. 2 red flags and the water is closed to the public. Longtime Palm City resident Roberta Steele has a message for people new to tropical weather.
Be overly prepared. You cannot be prepared enough.
The Beach Patrol took us down to the rough surf. This video was taken 2 hours before high tide, and the conditions were worsening. A few people braved walking along the water, but lifeguards were monitoring the area to make sure no one, including surfers, went in.
You're allowed on the beach, but you will not be allowed in the water because we have treacherous conditions going on right now. We have a rip current warning, we have rough surf warning, we have storm warning, and conditions are bad.
About an hour up the coast, Atlantic City was also preparing for what Hurricane Erin may bring. People were allowed to swim there, but only up to their knees, and boogie boards are banned. The Office of Emergency Management and Beach Patrol there agree major concerns include beach erosion and mire flooding.
And we also invite you to check out our preview of the hurricane season superstorms. The 2025 hurricane season is streaming right now on our YouTube page. We examine the impacts of Helene and Milton last year and look back at Katrina 20 years after it devastated New Orleans. Now to the heat that is baking large sections of the U.S. This is Phoenix, Arizona, where the high is expected to hit 107 degrees today. By Thursday, it could be 111. It's a similar story in Las Vegas, where triple digits are in the forecast through the weekend. More than 65 million Americans are under some kind of heat alert today. That includes people living from southern Illinois to even New Orleans. That heat is increasing the risk of wildfires in California. Red flag warnings go into effect tomorrow for parts of Los Angeles and Ventura counties. The National Weather Service warns of an unusually hot and unstable air mass with low humidity, which could generate explosive fire behavior. During the warning period, which will last through Saturday, temperatures could reach up to maybe 110 degrees. Cleanup is underway after strong storms rolled through southeast Pennsylvania. This happened over the weekend. One woman is happy to be alive after a massive tree fell on her home while she was inside. Grace Ruffolo has that story.
Well, one of the homeowners told me she was in her living room when all of a sudden she heard a loud crack. That crack being this oak tree that split in half and caused major damage both in and outside of the house. Sue, who's lived here for more than 30 years, says she was in her recliner when around 5 the tree crashed into her home. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the damage has been done. You can see branches are scattered everywhere, and it's going to be a pretty hefty cleanup. Sue tells me on top of structural damage, the interior also suffered water damage. Multiple fire crews were reportedly on the scene, but said they would have to come back later with a crane to begin lifting the tree off of the house. For now, the homeowners say they're sleeping in their camper, which is parked in their driveway. And Sue says this is all material damage. The most important thing is no one was hurt.
Dramatic new video shows the U.S. Coast Guard rescuing 4 girls stranded on a small island on Lake Superior on Sunday. The girls ranged in age from 8 to 14. Officials say the children paddle-boarded to the island from a nearby beach. Their parents reported them stranded Saturday night, but bad weather prevented local authorities from rescuing them, so they called the Coast Guard in for help. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how climate change is stretching out the wildfire season and literally adding fuel to the fires. And we're going to help you better understand how dust devils form.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have cooler temperatures on the way in the Northeast. Temps will struggle to get out of the low to mid 70s today, and there will be some more clouds moving in. Here we are early in the day. It's a chilly start to the day, certainly by August standards. Afternoon temps will be in the low to mid 70s with a mostly cloudy sky developing. Next round of rain, that moves in late tonight and more so into the day on Wednesday. Best chance for some steady rain will be in southern New England. Brighter skies return on Thursday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. The clouds and cooler temperatures will be lingering around for your Tuesday, and a few spotty showers will also continue. As we move into Wednesday, though, you'll start to see a little bit more sunshine and still a chance for a few showers around, but temperatures will be much warmer. We're only in the 70s for highs on Tuesday with some 80s far to the south, but those warmer temperatures will start pushing northward, and we'll be getting into the 80s everywhere by Wednesday afternoon.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs. 99 degrees in Nashville, hot one there. Tupelo 98 degrees, 90 in Pensacola, Tampa at 93, Charleston 88 degrees. We'll continue to watch Hurricane Aaron as it moves up the coast. It looks like it is going to continue to stay off the coast, moving between the United States and Bermuda, but it will cause some issues as far as wave heights across the eastern portion of the country, creating dangerous rip currents at the beaches.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
This summer's devastating wildfire season has sent smoke across states and international borders, affecting air quality thousands of miles from those flames. Emily Gracie sat down with a climate scientist to learn about how climate change is stretching out the season and literally adding fuel to some of these fires.
You know, it seems now that every summer we're talking about the air quality taking a hit, and especially for upper Midwest states, the Northeast, right? It's really starting to eat into our summer vacations and our summer travel plans, and the time of the year, honestly, where those parts of the country, this is the time to get outside and you can't do it because of air quality. So it really comes down to where the fires are. And then, of course, you know, the steering currents of the atmosphere. But what we know is that fire days are becoming more common, not just in the United States, but this is almost a worldwide issue. But for the focus of what we're looking at, the US and Canada. And yeah, it's impacting our air quality a lot more than it used to.
Okay, so let's go back to wildfire days, because I've heard you guys say that at Climate Central. Can you describe exactly what that means? Is it just a day when something's on fire somewhere?
Yeah, so wildfire days, we're talking about not just, you know, is something on fire? It's like thunderstorms, right? We know that there are days that can produce big thunderstorms, but the cap may hold them back, and we never may actualize them. So wildfire days are days that are hot, days that have low humidity, so very dry air in place.
Are there long-term climate implications when it comes to like long-lasting wildfires?
Fires mostly are started by human activity. So it's really hard to attribute climate change to a specific fire. So it's the underlying conditions that climate change is playing a role in here. And then when you get that right weather system, that's when you're going to see the fire spark. Now, the way that we know the recent air quality in the United States was brought a climate change fingerprint to it is because the heat that was happening in central portions of Canada when these fires broke out, that heat was made 4 or 5 times more likely because of climate change. That's where we can put the attribution science in. So we understand that the weather conditions were made more likely, were boosted by climate change. The fires broke out, and then the smoke poured into the U.S.
And to learn more about how air quality is measured and forecasted, make sure you listen to this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. Listen and subscribe on any podcast platform. Lyme disease affects about 500,000 people each year, and that number is growing. The infection is spread through deer tick bites, and deer tick numbers are also growing at the same time. Barbara Morris has more.
They're nasty-looking little buggers. Their bite potentially even worse, the black-legged deer tick, behind the transmission of Lyme disease. Their typical hangouts, wooded, brushy areas, unless they find a new home on you.
They crawl and find a nice warm area, soft, thin skin. For example, they like the groin area, they like the axilla area under the arms.
Once they latch on, between 24 and 48 hours, they can transmit Lyme.
In 70% of the cases, they could see a Lyme-related rash. It will be the bullseye rash.
If you miss that, the symptoms, you would not.
Flu-like symptoms, fever, chills, muscle ache, headaches, neck pain, neck stiffness.
There is a blood test, but it has limitations.
In terms of sensitivity.
Which means if a tick bite is suspected, antibiotics may be prescribed to help prevent the infection from taking hold. Even so, there's something known as post-Lyme syndrome,
where people could have lingering milder symptoms, or could be disabling sometimes because they have fogginess, fatigue, etc.
Which is why personal protection is paramount.
We should wear long clothing, long-legged and long sleeves.
Wear a tick repellent known as DEET, D-E-E-T. Even with these precautions, they can still make it to your skin.
That's why bathing after outdoor exposure within an hour or two could help flush or rinse all these ticks away.
Tick checks, too, are crucial. If you find one, pull it out vertically from the head. If you don't get it all, leave it alone. Poking around might help it spread. I'm medical reporter Barbara Morse.
Meteorological fall is 2 weeks away when September arrives. An astronomical fall shows up a few weeks later. People are already wondering when the leaves will start changing colors. Meteorologist Dante Ricky tells us about the fall foliage outlook in West Virginia, a popular location for leaf peeping.
As we close in on the fall season, we start to think about that color change, fall foliage. Well, the West Virginia Department of Tourism has released its 2025 fall foliage forecast. And here are the details. Here in Charleston and Kanawha County, looks like a late October, early November peak as well for the southern coal fields of West Virginia. As you head to places like Point Pleasant and Ripley, even Sutton, Braxton County, down to Summersville, in Nicholas County, that bronze color is a mid-October peak where we see the biggest color change. And then places like Randolph and Tucker counties, Elkins, they see that first. They're even calling for an early change in Morgantown in late September and early October. And then as you head closer to the middle of the state, places like Mineral County, that's where we're still in that early to mid-October fashion. But one interesting thing is both eastern and western panhandle areas are in the late October and early November bright red peak time. So here are the trends for this year. It seems to be a near normal color change for when we see that maximum fall foliage around here, all the reds, oranges, and nice colors. And that's because we're not in a major drought and temperatures are near to above normal. So we're not seeing any August or September color change resulting in a lot of those leaves falling to the ground like we did in 2024. One thing to watch, though, is some abnormally dry conditions in places like Pocahontas, Webster, and Randolph counties, which could cause some leaves to fall early in those spots. But above normal temperatures, if it is warmer than expected, that can help to push back the peak fall foliage dates across much of the region. It's going to be a very interesting year and hopefully a more colorful one than 2024. I'm meteorologist Dante Ricky.
They are fascinating swirls of dust. Sometimes they seem a bit devilish. Meteorologist Chris Suchan explains how dust devils spin into being.
Deep in the summer season, and perhaps you have seen with intense heating of the day, a few dust devils. Texas, like this one here, taken by Nora Flores, or around the country, they can occur. This was a pretty big one. On average, you get winds of 45 to 60 miles an hour in these dust devils. On the top end, they can reach EF0 levels of 65, 75, 85 mile an hour winds and do a little bit of damage. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan explain how they form. And they're a result of intense heating of the land during the day. And as that air is rising, that forces an area of low pressure to develop. So as that area of low pressure is developing from rising air, which means there's less pressure on the ground, then you get air to suck into this vortex. And so that's what you'll see right in here. Air flows in and it goes up and it creates a tornadic spin. But it's a dust devil. It will pick up some very light objects. Of course, the dust and dirt gets picked up into it, and it's self-sustaining until finally it begins to ingest some cooler air, cooler temperatures, which will then choke off the circulation, and that is the end of the dust devil here. But keep an eye out if you're driving around Texas or other parts of the country. You might see that dusty little whirlpool. That is a dust devil.
And time now for a short break, but first we take to the skies over Annapolis, Maryland.
Good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Still going to be hot across most of the Midwest for the day today. 80s, 90s, and even some 70s across the Great Lakes for your Tuesday today with some isolated showers and storms. A little drier for most of us tomorrow. Maybe a few pockets of rain kind of still lingering. But as we continue on into your Thursday, we've got a cold front heading in our direction. That'll cool us down for the weekend and especially next week.
Well, good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region and tracking the possibility of showers and thunderstorms. Portions of Texas, Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, perhaps. Also, the risk for a strong to severe storm. Oklahoma into portions of Arkansas. They're around Little Rock with wind gusts and some hail. Wednesday, another opportunity for showers and thunderstorms across the region. And notice the temperature's not bad, holding in the 90s.
Good Tuesday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Stella Sun. There's an area of low pressure that's hitting British Columbia. That's going to bring some cloud cover as well as isolated shower chances to the Pacific Northwest. Meanwhile, mostly dry conditions across the west coast with heat advisories triggered towards the western portions of Montana. Monsoon moisture will surge on in through parts of New Mexico and northern Texas. Daytime highs will be climbing to 100 degrees in Salt Lake, 70s in LA. That's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Officials in North Carolina are warning residents about bats after one recently tested positive for rabies. Nedja Petahome has more.
Most of the contacts and exposure reports we received were from summer camps during the summer camp season. That would be when a camper would wake up and find a bat flying around in their cabin.
And not just the campers.
If you find a bat on the ground inside your home that's unable to fly or is really easy to approach, just avoid that. Avoid contact with that bat.
But also homeowners, as a growing number of Hendersonville residents have been reaching out for assistance with bat issues.
Here in Henderson County, we have received 21 bat exposure reports. 16 of those bats have been able to be tested.
Andrew Mudhank with the Henderson County Department of Public Health says now is not the time to take it lightly.
It's very important that the community is aware that bats can carry rabies. Watch out for unusual behavior if you see a bat during daylight hours.
And we'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.